Back to another exciting edition of Jeffco Patriot. I am Billy Crow. This is Chris Howard with me, county executive candidate. Last week we had Tim Whitney on. This week we have Chris Howard on. We always try to rotate through them, so we give them all lots of good air time. And as you can see again, Tim Jones. I was out last week. Tim Jones is out this week. I mean, we couldn't find another Billy to make it go from the Tim shows to the Billy shows. But we could have made it the Chris show, but Chris Arps wasn't available to come in with us this week.
I keep telling you need to have Tim Whitney and I do it, and it'd still be the Tim and Chris show.
It would still be the Tim and Chris show, but somehow Billy still gets left out of that. But I don't know. Anyways, listen, happy Easter. It is
Easter.
Sunday, April the 5th, Easter Sunday.
Yep.
And, and I think what's been really cool is the fact that April elections have been going hard at it, yet the Sunday before the Tuesday, April 7th election, we have Easter Sunday. Everybody can slow down, take a breath, remember the important things, remember that he is risen, right? And all these differences and all these things that are going on, that we just remember, if you put Christ in the center of it, you really can't go wrong at the end of that.
He conquered death and everything else, and we should learn from that.
I have heard rumors that he may have conquered death, but data centers will bring on the apocalypse. I have been called, the tool of Satan for saying that I like the idea of data centers. But that is here and now. It's not.
Well, Billy, I've read the Book of Revelation. I don't remember data centers being anywhere in there.
Right, or me. I've looked. Trust me. I'm one of those guys that think I'm in that important. But anyways, point being, we got an exciting show for you today. We're going to talk a little bit with Chris here in the first segment about his campaign. We're going to talk about the big news that, yes, Festus passed for the 6-2 vote, a vote letting the data center move forward.
Yep.
We've also have a special guest in our second segment. You've probably seen him if you've been checking out our stuff on Facebook. Hunter Williams. He's been doing some extra content. Yep. He's got his own little show going on. He's interviewed some folks for the Northwest School Board.
He's got a little show, but he is not little.
Right. Exactly right. And he does some other things. He's involved with the Young Republicans and so much more. He'll talk about that in the second segment. And in the third segment today, we are going to hustle through all of these elections. We got a lot of stuff going on in April, so we're going to touch on that because that's just 2 days away. But filing is finally closed for the August primary. There were some surprises, right? A couple surprises. And the biggest surprise I think we're going to talk about is the fact that so many Democrats finally stopped just yelling on Facebook and are actually going to try to do something about it. So that'll be interesting for sure.
That's like every Democrat in the county just filed for an election because there's not any more than that, is there?
I don't think there is. Okay. I think that is it, right? I think that is it exactly. So listen, one of the things we talked about was the fact that this past Monday, the Festus Data Center, the Festus City Council passed the ordinance to allow the data center to start developing. And, that was, it was 2 Mondays in a row where they had a packed room there at the Festus High School. A very rowdy crowd. There was lots of yelling and shouting and stomping on the bleachers.
Passionate. They were passionate.
Well, sure, right? I mean, I think that is the thing, right? I mean, yes, they were loud, and to some people they were obnoxious, but at the same time, if you feel like you're not getting heard,
that's right.
I mean, like when you talk to a deaf person, what's the first thing you do when you realize they're deaf? You don't try to enunciate. You talk louder, even though that doesn't help anything, right? And so I think that's what a lot of people felt like when they were going to that city council meeting, was that their voices weren't heard. And there was this group called Wake Up Jeffco. They're all over Facebook. They had a meeting the Sunday before. They've hired a lawyer to try to give them legal advice. And I'm pretty sure from the transcript I saw, his legal advice was, you're kind of screwed, that is a really expensive way to hear you're screwed.
Yep.
Also very interesting. There was a woman there. I don't know who she was, but she might have been in charge of the Wake Up Jeffco. She actually had a bucket and going around taking up collections to fund their lawyer.
Oh, okay. And give them the news that they were
right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Right. And then they kept going down the line, and they got in front of one of the lawyers that works for CRG, which is the development company that's making the data centers. Right. And it looked like from the vantage point that we had that she was pretty belligerent to him and kind of got in his face. It's hard to tell if it exactly was, but it was just kind of like, wow, like there's a line of like passion.
Yep.
And there's a line of disrespect, right? This guy's doing his job. He's trying to feed his family and work for a product he believes in, right?
Yep.
Your beef's not with him. Your beef would be with the council. And I say that as a guy that I'm friends with a lot of folks on that council. And so like, but if the beef's legitimate, like you got to be heard, right?
Well, that's right. You know, and it reminds me, years ago, I taught a citizen engagement class for some Republicans and I did it in a couple places around the state. The first thing I always tell people in a conflict, define winning.
Right.
Understand what it takes to win. And never, ever raise your voice.
Yeah.
The minute you've raised your voice,
you've lost the battle.
You've lost. You've admitted that you've lost because you've done that. And you stop being heard because people either just shut down or they walk away.
Right.
Or they're prepared the entire time to engage you by yelling, which is equally as unproductive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is something to that unproductiveness. However, from the vantage point of those that were doing the yelling and the stomping and the shouting down, of people that are for the data center, right? When you don't feel like your council is hearing you,
right.
What do you do? You know?
Right. Well, that brings up an outstanding point. The problem is that these folks, right or wrong, not making any judgments here, but they woke up too late in the process.
Right.
They weren't aware of what was going on because people aren't engaged. And I'm shocked in this day and age, after what happened to all of us during COVID from governments, that we've allowed that to happen, right? Because we found out during COVID, there is no level of government that's unimportant.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the reason you decided to leave the St. Louis County because
ran to Free Missouri out here where we live now. That's right. I ran out of the People's Republic of St. Louis County.
And you know what? You bring up a good point about citizen engagement because I've ran for city council, I've ran for county council, and when you look at the numbers, particularly in the April elections, 10% voter turnout,
if you're lucky,
is a good number. Yeah. It's a good year, right? Which means like in a city like Festus, which I think has like 6,000 to 8,000 people, you're talking 600 to 800 people like
are deciding the future.
Exactly right. And so when one of the first meetings where people were very upset about the data center, this was back, I think in November, I showed up to it because I wanted to hear what they had to say. A lot of people say we're not being represented. We didn't get a say. Well, you did. I can almost guarantee you, if we surveyed that room against the voter rolls, only 10% of that room had ever voted in the last 3 April elections.
Yeah.
And so you had the opportunity, you just didn't take it.
That's right.
And that's one of those things where it's like that's a hard pill to swallow, but that's the reality of it.
Well, and that, not to get too philosophical, but that's why we are a representative.
That's right.
Constitutional republic. We are not a democracy.
Right.
Right. And everyone thinks that we're a democracy in those moments, but we're not.
Yeah.
Your democracy, we use the democratic method to elect our representatives in these governments. And if you just play fire and forget, again, those classes I used to teach years ago, hold people accountable. Accountability is a two-edged sword. Sometimes it means, Billy, Mr. County Council member, what were you thinking?
Right.
Sometimes it is, hey, you know what? You did the right thing, and I'm praying for you, and that was good. Right. As a councilman, what would that mean to you if somebody came up to you randomly and said, hey, you really did a good job, and I'm praying for you?
You know what? That would
you
mean
never hear that, do you?
No, because you only hear the negative things.
That's right.
I've and Dawn Chad, if you're listening, you are one of it's hard to say that you're my favorite constituent because I don't want to insult any other constituents, but she's a case in point where she a perfect example of this, where she has had a lot of problems in her subdivision. It's been there for years, and she's been trying to get help, and she's trying to get help. We're trying to help her. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that just because of the way HOAs work and like how streets are governed, whether they're on their own streets or they're the county streets and all of that, right? There's only so many things I can do. And even though she like lets me know like what is not happening and how frustrated she is, she at least understands that like, hey, thank you for trying.
That's right.
Thank you for hearing us out. Thank you for listening. Because again, 99% of it is, hey, you're doing this wrong. You're doing bad. I don't like this. I don't like that. Very rarely is it, hey, that was a hard decision, and thank you for making the right decision for the county, even though it wasn't popular.
Right.
That would mean the world to an elected official.
It would. And that's what we need to have, and unfortunately, I see this nightmare happen all the time in St. Louis County because citizens aren't engaged on that level.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is you either have the squeaky wheels.
That's right.
Or you have isolated elected officials who every day of the week and twice on Tuesday in St. Louis County will make bad decisions because no one's watching.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And, we're talking a little more about this than I was planning on today, but you brought up the idea of the fact that we are a representative government but we democratically elect those. Now, I was at the Republican Club meeting where we were talking about data centers, and we had a panel up there.
Yep.
One gentleman, older gentleman, very, if I said his name, most people listening to the show know exactly who I'm talking about. He was an elected Republican official. He said, well, people should be able to vote on whether the data center comes or not. Now, but to me, though, that right there is a violation of property rights. That is mob rule.
That's right.
What would you think if you were like, I'm going to build an outbuilding on my farm? Well, hold on. The entire county has to decide if they like that or not.
That's right. Well, Adams described, when they had a conversation about the difference, a democracy is a big, beautiful sailboat, schooner, multiple masts with no rudder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The rudder is what makes us a constitutional republic.
Right.
So those people said, well, we should get to vote on it. You did when you elected those people to represent you.
That's right.
You got those votes.
That's exactly right.
And I get that, but property rights is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we sometimes tend to forget that in the heat of the passion.
Well, not only that, but we think property rights don't apply to those people that are wealthier than us.
We think they don't apply to anybody but us.
That's fair. That's really fair.
That's really the problem.
I think that's a good point, right? Because especially which happens a lot on the county level. Hey, my neighbor's got 3 derelict cars in his front yard.
Yep.
Okay, is it on your yard? No. Well, that's his property, right? I grew up in Southern Jefferson County. I grew up hanging out with kids in the trailer park. Everybody had a junkyard behind their house, right? Like it was not a big deal. Everybody left everybody alone. Your neighbor had tall grass. You would complain on your front porch to the other neighbor about it, but you didn't go call the government and say you need to come find him. That's not what happened, right? And I know we're not the same county we were 20 years ago, right?
But even now, to that point, so I'm on my HOA board,
right,
in my subdivision.
Sure.
And you know what I told those people when they asked me if I would in the subdivision meeting if I would take the position, and I said, listen, fine, but here's the deal: if you have a dispute with your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And you come to me as a member of the board of the trustees for the subdivision, my first question is, did you talk to your neighbor? Because if the answer is no, have a nice day. Talk to you later.
Right. I mean, those kind of principles are biblical right there,
That's
right?
right. That is exactly right.
Well, listen, I think we have beaten this dead horse pretty hard. Well,
I have a feeling some other people are going to continue to beat that for a while.
Right. And we'll probably talk more about it at other times.
We'll put it in the freezer to keep it fresh.
That's exactly right.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
But listen, we got a couple events that are going to be coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We always like to talk about events. We got the Casa Magic Gala, the 9th annual.
Good time.
It's a great time. And what's really cool about
I was there last year with you.
You were. Well,
and I'll be there with you this time.
That's right. So typically they do they have an MC and it's music, it's dancing. This time they're doing something a little different. They're going to have a magician there. Doing magic tricks.
Can they make you no, I won't go there. Never mind.
Well, I'm sure as a county executive candidate, you might want them to make your other opponents disappear, but I don't think they do that.
No,
I don't think they do that.
I wouldn't do that.
But listen, that's going to be Saturday, April 11th. Get on CASA's website because there's still sponsorships and stuff that you guys can do to help out. Even if you can't
give them the
go.
CASA website.
Yeah, well, I don't have that in my notes. We'll give it to you in the next segment because I'll get that up.
See, I didn't see it on here. I'd have mentioned it for you, but
here's the problem. We'll give it to you in the second segment, but don't Google Casa Jefferson County because it comes up with the Casa of Jefferson County of Kentucky and Colorado before you find the Missouri one. But I'll let you guys know that on the second segment. That's going to be Saturday, April 11th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. You'll definitely see us there. It's the clubhouse of the Oak Valley Golf Course there at 1230 Abbey Lane in Peevely, Missouri. And $70 for a person, $120 for a couple, or $600 for a table of 10. The next big event we're going to talk about, we've talked about a couple times before. We had Tom Vogel, the president of the Festus Main Street Association, come in and talk about it. It is the Tanglefoot Pub Crawl. That is Saturday, May 2nd from noon to Yeah, from noon to 11 p.m. So it's just kind of ongoing on Festus Main Street. $70 gets you some swag, and it gets you 9 free drinks from all the different pubs. And you can get those tickets at festusmainstreet.org. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Hunter Williams about some of the things he's been doing. So stick around. This is Jeffco Patriot Radio on News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
Hey, Jeffco, this is Jim Avery from Avery Injury Law. We're personal injury attorneys that specialize in car wrecks, dog bites, semi-truck crashes, or really anything that happens that's not your fault that results in an injury. At Avery Injury Law, you can trust us to help you. When you have to fight with the insurance companies, don't battle them alone. Choose your friend, Jim Avery from Avery Injury Law. I'm not afraid of insurance companies. Let me fight them for you. Contact us at 314-549-5600 or averyinjurylaw.com.
Welcome back to the second segment of Jeffco Patriot Radio on this beautiful Easter Sunday. Hope you're just getting out of church now and listening to us on the way to some nice ham and turkey at grandma's house or your aunt's house or wherever it is that you are hanging out this Easter, celebrating the rising of Christ from the dead. One of the things we talked about in the first segment was an event called the Casa Gala.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to hear about it when I get home, because my wife will be like, well, you don't know the website. I'm sorry. So the website is www.jeffersoncountycasa.org. And again, if you just Google that, the first two that come up are going to be Colorado and Kentucky. So you got to make sure which one you're on. Check to make sure it's got this gala on it, and you're not donating money to Colorado. I'm sure the kids there are lovely too, but we want to support our local stuff.
That's right.
First. But now, without further ado, we have our friend Hunter Williams on the show. Right? Hunter, tell us a little bit about yourself. You are such a cool person and so unique, and one of those guys that I'm like, man, I wish I was where he was when I was his age. So tell us a little bit about who you are, Hunter.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Happy Easter, everyone. So I'm Hunter Williams. I'm a senior at Northwest High School. I'm 18 years old. In high school, I'm highly involved in leadership and football. I was actually first All-State football player from Northwest High School.
All right.
So that was a big accomplishment I had this year. But other than that, I'm highly involved in my community. Right now, I am on the board of the Jefferson County Young Republicans that we just started.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we have an event coming up with that for Easter on April 10th. So that'll be a fun event we do.
Yeah.
But other than that, I also actually just started my 2 new shows. I have our midweek update that I just did, and then also we have a Jeffco Eats coming soon.
Okay.
So that's something to look forward to, something to look at on the Facebook, and let's just say it's going to be fun. You're going to see me destroy some food.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about your midweek stuff, but tell us, what is that Jeffco Eats going to look like?
All right. So basically, we kind of came up with the idea, and I'm going to go around to a bunch of different restaurants, local restaurants, try to stay away from chain as much as I can, just because we want to support our local businesses and stuff like that. But go to our local restaurants, sit down. Either they give me a food they want me to try, or, I get some food there, and I have a community leader come on with me, someone from the community. So sit down with them, ask them some questions, inform the public about who they are, kind of what they do, so they realize, how important these people are in our community, and we just have a good time, eat some food, rate it, and
break bread.
Yeah. Now, do you have a first restaurant and a first community leader picked out yet?
I sure do. So I have Pegs and High Ridge.
Oh, that's a great place. Yeah.
Place is great. I'm
Love
there
that
all the
place.
time. Love the owners, great people.
Yep.
And meeting with Chief Frank from Burns Mills.
Oh,
Police
super
Department.
great guy.
Okay, yeah.
He's amazing. Very involved in the community and the youth. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think he just had an event a couple weeks ago. We talked about that was teen drug awareness, teaching parents how to see the signs in their children, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a guy that loves the community. That is a perfect one. I'm excited for that.
Pegs is a great place. We love that.
Oh yeah.
So you're a high school senior and you're doing all the stuff. You're being involved. One of the things you talked about, we were talking off air, is you're also campaign manager for your dad, who's running for county council, right?
Yes, sir.
So you've got a pretty full plate there.
Yeah, I sure do. And I love to say that it's amazing and I enjoy it. It's stressful at times. Don't get me wrong, but I love every second of it. I love being able to get out in the community, meet people who I might not know, or if I even know them, have a good time. Tend to come off a little sarcastic with people.
Yeah.
I like to joke around. But I mean, other than that, I definitely enjoy it, being around everybody, and having such a young age, and just a lot of people like to see the younger age giving their input. And I think that's very important, especially when we look towards our future, because that's a lot of things maybe politicians don't look at, is what the future might look like. And I think that's very important and a good standpoint for me to be at right now.
Well, I think one of the other things too is, like, so often in the Republican circles, we talk about how young, if you are, well, it's just in general, right? If you are young and a conservative, you don't have a heart, but if you're old and a liberal, you don't have a brain. And so, like, this idea of youth start out very liberal and then they grow into conservative as they have to pay taxes and actually get a job and run real life, right?
Yeah.
But you are bucking the trend. You are very strong conservative. And I know you, like myself, come from a union household. So how has that kind of shaped, how has your home life kind of shaped your conservative viewpoints?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, my dad's in the union. He's a local 562 member of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. He's been in the union. I know my great grandfather was in the union as well. My grandpa, he was a firefighter. But the union, a lot of times the Republicans and unions don't get along. But in my
Jefferson County,
except
in Jefferson
exactly,
County.
there it is right there. Like he said, except in Jefferson County, we've been doing great. Unions and Republicans are getting along, and that's something great to hear.
Well, I know as long as you leave our right to work alone, a lot of blue collar union workers, like, they want to be left alone.
Exactly.
They want to have their guns.
They want to have their own money.
They want to have their own money, right? They don't want to live
They don't
off
get
the
enough
government.
of it, so they want to keep what they have.
Yeah,
That's exactly right. So the big thing we're going to talk about here is your midweek piece you've been doing. Now, the first thing you did was you were interviewing, which is very cool because you're from Northwest. You're in Northwest now. You're interviewing candidates for the Northwest School District. Tell us why you decided that and what that was like.
Like I said, I wanted to get involved and stuff like that. And I think the most important thing for me was kind of to start with the things I knew. And Northwest is my roots, right? Northwest is what I'm involved in right now, and what I will continue to be involved in. I'll be in the community and things like that, especially being a leader in my school and stuff like that. People look up to me, and I think it's important that that if nobody was doing it, that somebody got out there and talked to these people and got the answers out to the people so they know who to vote for when it comes April 7th, this Tuesday, So I think that's something that's very important.
So now that you've interviewed these candidates, because I argue we do not pay enough attention to school board candidates.
Very true.
So now that you've interviewed some of these, do you have leanings? Who you want or who you don't want?
Yeah.
And you may not want to say, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, listen, I've looked at it. I know who mine are.
Yeah.
Who I'm going to vote for. Right.
So, that's a great question.
And
your
interviews haven't dissuaded me from my opinion walking into it either.
Yeah. So, like you said, I've interviewed 3 people. We have one dropping, or actually all of them have actually dropped now. And we've interviewed Michelle Adams, Christine Eoff, and Nora Ross are our 3, and we didn't get response from the other 2. Cindy Hayes and Michelle Coates, who is a current board member right now. So no response from them. I mean, we put it out there. We texted them twice and no response. So we're trying to give everyone the fair, the equality, right? We're trying to give them that. But when they get no response, I mean, it's not our fault. And I think it happens to be that those 2 might be a little bit left leaning. So,
Well, I think you mentioned between the segments here, one of those is actually running for the Democratic Central Committee as well, right? In August.
Yes.
Yep.
So what was the favorite part of interviewing those candidates?
Honestly, my favorite part for myself was I was able to see my growth. So I did that first interview, and then I went to the second interview, and I was like, I got a lot better at this. Other than that, I think it was great to kind of just sit down and talk to these people that, they're in the middle of their campaign, and, it might be a stressful time right then for them, but they were able to relax and have a good conversation and share who they really are to the people. So the people can get on here and watch that and know who to vote for, know where their values align with.
So Billy, you may not know this.
I don't know much.
I know. Well, that's what it says on the wall out
That's
there.
right.
No. So Hunter here volunteered and helped Cecily Williams out on her campaign.
That's right. Yep.
And I don't know if any of the things that I helped teach you about social media helped has
Just a
helped
little
you or
bit.
not, just a little bit. So he came over to the house and I walked him through, the best ways to take photos for social media, the best certain things to do. And, now to look at him, you'd think, well, did he go to school for that? I mean,
Right.
not because
It was a master class.
not because I was so good.
Chris Howard's dinner table.
No. But I'm just saying, you've really, from that first time that we talked, I mean, you've really evolved and really progressed and really become quite good at it.
Yeah.
But I wanted Billy to know that's, you got your start cutting your teeth a little bit, helping Cecily Williams out.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I got involved at, was helping with that. And then, with my dad's campaign, being his campaign manager, I'm getting his Facebook posts together, doing stuff like that, creating events, flyers, things like that, like his golf tournament that's coming up. And so I think that's something that, it started with that, and I think it's going to continue to grow.
I'm trying to decide with his eating thing, if I should have him come to the crawfish boil I'm going to host, or
I don't know
if I can order enough crawfish to.
Hey, he looks like he can pack it on, but who can? A good crawfish boil, anybody
That's
can
right.
pack it on,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's right.
So I know when we interview people here, there are times that sometimes people give a response and you're like, wow, that was a really good response. Or sometimes they give a response and we're like, did they just say the quiet part out loud? Like they just completely tanked anything they were trying to do. So I'm going to leave it open-ended for you. What was your favorite response from one of those candidates and why? It could be for the good or for the bad.
All right, so I think one of my favorite
Hold on.
responses.
You don't have to say which candidate either.
Okay, I
though. We
won't.
don't.
Yeah.
I won't. Okay, so
Unless you want to, I don't care.
one of my
I know who
favorite
I'm voting for
responses I
anyway.
got. So I asked the hard question.
Mhm.
I told him I was going to ask him a hard question. The hard question is, what do you think about LGBTQ in our curriculum?
Mhm.
And the response I got was, it was a no opinion. I just follow state laws. I think that was, kind of funny. So I mean, to not put your opinion on that, I think it's important to put your opinion
Sure.
on stuff like that. But I think one of the best responses I got was probably, I got one from Christine Eoff when I asked about, what's important to you and how are you going to, balance like the students' input and stuff like that, which I think is very important. Northwest does a great job of that, is getting student input. And, she talked about, getting the students involved with the decision the school board makes. Because a lot of times you're on a board, especially school board, you might not know of all of how this is going to affect people, right? And so when you get people's input from the community, from the other board members, but they're not getting a lot of students' opinion on this, of how it would really affect them.
Sounds like a conversation we had in the first segment.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. So just so we have to put this disclaimer out there, because you're talking about Christine Eoff. She is the wife of one of our executive producers. We got to say that as a disclosure. You're welcome, Jeff Allen. We did that this time. So you're also in high school. We talked about that. You walked in with some accessories. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
All right, so I'm not going to take them
No,
off.
put them
I
on
can't
for the
say-
camera.
Yeah,
Put them on for the
put 'em
camera.
on for the camera.
Wow.
Come on.
Come on
For
now.
the camera. All right, so I have to wear these around right now.
Okay.
So as a senior, we play this game. It's called Senior Assassin.
All
So
right.
I have to wear these goggles right here, and I'm going to keep them on for the rest of the interview. Anyways, I have to wear these goggles because each week we get a target, but then a target or somebody also has us targeted. So we go around and you get everyone's location 24/7. All right. And you have a week to get your person out and not get out at the same time. If you're wearing these cute little goggles I have on that are squeezing my brain right now, if you're wearing these and someone tries to come get you, then you're safe because you have your goggles on. But there are random purges that these goggles don't matter. So yeah,
Okay. So this
Have you
this
gotten
is
your person?
I have got my
All right,
person on the
that's
first
what I
week.
wanted
Yep.
to hear.
So this is what I love, right? Like we're talking about serious things that are going to affect the community long term. That like as adults, like people get into almost fist fights at the like they did at the two Festus City Council meetings ago. Yeah, and we're talking about them, and you are diving into there. Yet you are still finding time to actually just enjoy high school and enjoy the fun things. And I think that's something all of us, especially as we're going to be going through the dog days of this campaign, to remember that, man, let's just have some fun once in a while too.
Exactly. I think that's very important. And that's what I try to do the most. I know that I try to take on serious things and kind of big jobs, but also you got to realize sometimes you have to take a break and, relieve some stress that you might be building up. So.
Well, listen, Hunter, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate all that you're doing, helping with us out with your show and being involved. It's very exciting to see kids Young adults active. I apologize. That's
Big-
kind of
big
insulting,
kid.
right? Yeah. I feel like I'm more of a kid than you are. Like, let's just be real here.
That's a true statement.
See? All right. Well, listen, thank you again for coming on, and we'll hope to have you on after you do your first Jeffco Eat so we can promote that, talk about how that
Yes.
went for you. So thanks for coming on.
I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk actual election time stuff. A lot of races, a lot of ballot things that people are like,
Yep.
what does this actually mean? And then look forward to the August ballot when Chris and I come back here at Jeffco Patriot Radio at 1019 941 News Talk STL.
We've been at this few months while you tested.
Hey everyone, Hunter Williams here. I want to say thank you for those who joined me for Northwest R1 School Board Canada updates. We had great discussions along with great answers for the voters. We also reached out to Cindy Hayes and Michelle Coates, and we had no response. Again, I want to thank you for joining me on Jeffco Patriot Radio's midweek update. I hope to see you on the next one.
Welcome back to the last segment here, the third and final segment of Jeffco Patriot Radio on this lovely Easter Sunday. Can you smell that? It smells like ham and deviled eggs to me.
You know, I do lamb on Easter Sunday.
Do you?
I do a leg of lamb.
You know what? That's one of those kind of meats that I've always wanted to try, but I don't feel like feels a little too bougie for my taste.
Oh my goodness.
Because I'm like a pork steak kind of guy, right? So, anyways,
Does it look like I don't eat? And I tell you what, Radiker's over by my house. You get these pork steaks that are like this thick.
yeah,
Oh, to die for, man. Just to die for.
fantastic. Well, Chris, if you guys haven't noticed, we've been Chris Howard has been my co-host today. He is one of the up to 5 candidates
I
we
know.
have now for
All of a
county
sudden.
executive. Two Democrats,
That's right.
3 Republicans. So tell us a little bit about your race, how it's been going, any events you got coming up.
Yeah. So listen, you know, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of been the lull before the storm, really, from January through now. And it's, you know, making phone calls and dialing for dollars and whatever. And I got a few fun surprises coming up that way. But we're going to have a crawfish boil. I alluded to that earlier. We haven't got the date set. We're still working on some of that. I will tell you, you know, it's been interesting. A lot of people have made comments about, well, hey, are you doing this so that you can run for something else? Or why didn't you run for that? And I will tell you this. I worked in Jefferson City. Matter of fact, I worked for Tim Jones and he was speaking.
That's right. Yeah.
And every time I go back to Jefferson City, I'm reminded of 3 things. I have no desire ever to go back there on a full-time basis. No desire. 2, I can only stand to be there for about 6 to 8 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Right. And 3, I'm more than happy to help other people go as long
Sure.
as I don't have to go. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. And so there's been a lot of questions about that for me. And I'm like, listen, there's no desire in my heart to go to Jefferson City other than to visit. And when I started, you know, working for St. Louis County, which I get a lot of gruff for.
Right.
However, I really learned, especially during COVID, how important county government is. And at the end of the day, we all look at the state government as being what influence. No, county government influences it. So if you look at here in Jefferson County, and I've talked about this a lot, you've heard me go on forever. We have a stagnant economy. And we have a lot of people who think, well, I want to be a bedroom community.
Right.
Well, look around the country at bedroom communities that have been that longer than we have. They're in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't want us to be in trouble. So, you know, again, I'm just going to reiterate the 2 big things. I want our economy strong enough that we're not dependent on St. Louis County for our economics. And we are. That's not a good place.
No.
2, we have to take control of our own destiny as a county. One of the things that I know I've talked to other candidates, you know, it's hard to raise money in Jefferson County.
It sure
And
is.
Money makes campaigns work. And I did the math because I've worked for campaigns for 25 years before I decided to run for this office. The right person, $600,000. I could take over the council. I could take over all your county offices. I could take over the county executive. I could take over the mayors of all your major cities. I could turn over half of your township committee people.
Right.
I don't want that for Jefferson County.
Right, because St. Charles County could
that's
move
exactly
in and do
what
it,
happened.
right?
That's exactly
St.
what happened
Louis
there
County
15 years ago.
can come move in and do that if we're not,
That's
like
right.
you said, controlling our own destiny.
We have to control our own destiny. That is my singular focus, is putting us in a position where we're strong enough to control our own destiny. Because the day's coming, if we don't, someone's going to come in here and do it for us, and we will not like it.
I agree with that 100%. I've always said that Jefferson County is the crown jewel of eastern Missouri, and it should be treated as such. And it's up to us to take
That's
our
right. We have
rightful seat there.
That's exactly it. And I talk about the port a lot because, and I've said this before, you can have all the data centers you want. The port can produce more money than the data centers can in the next 10 years, right? We could produce more revenue for the state of Missouri than if we had a couple of NFL teams.
Right.
If Jefferson County had an NFL team, the port could produce more. Now, I will tell you this. Some people have already asked, well, do you have investments? Are you looking to be on the port?
Right.
One, I don't own anything but with my wife and our house.
Right.
I have no investment property anywhere. I wouldn't do that and run for office. I've seen what happened. I've seen the craziness that goes on other places.
Right.
Not going to do that. And so, it's just funny that people will leap to those conclusions out of the gate. What they don't understand is listen, I'm a conservative Republican. I want more taxpayers, not more taxes. We're just going to talk about this April ballot.
Yeah.
There's some tax items on there.
Oh, yeah. Lots of them.
A lot of tax items on there. And I'm not saying that I'm against them necessarily, but what we have to be aware of is, listen, if we don't have more taxpayers, we are all going to be paying more taxes for exactly or less than what we have today.
That's right. Yep. Absolutely. And you segue us perfectly into talking about these April elections. The first one that we're going to talk about is literally called Question
One.
And it's the most wordy, and
it's horribly worded.
I've seen where this is on other ballots, and it's a lot less wordy than that. Where do we got that at? It's somewhere.
It's on your first page.
I know. We lost it.
Here, it's here.
There it is. It's hiding.
It's my fault.
All right, so we're going to read you Question 1 here, okay? It's the first one on your ballot.
I'm going to be impressed if you can get through that.
Right?
It's that bad. It's badly worded.
Shall Jefferson County, Missouri grant a property tax credit to eligible taxpayers residing in Jefferson County, Missouri, in an amount equal to each eligible taxpayer's eligible credit amount, to which the real property tax liability of an eligible taxpayer's homestead shall not be increased above the liability incurred during the initial credit year pursuant to section 137.1055 of the Missouri Revised Statutes, beginning with the property taxes levied for the 2028 year. Now, let's start.
Mr. County Councilman, could you explain that to us?
No. I had to have it explained to me. So this is all from when our Republican legislature tried to woo the Kansas City Chiefs to stay in Missouri, which it was a terrible idea to try to subsidize an NFL team. Always has been, always will be. But they decided, Kansas City still decided not to go, but we're left with this. This was the sweet things that we were supposed to get to make us forget about how these billionaires are getting tax subsidies, right? And so
ballot candy.
Right. Yes, ballot candy. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
You're no problem.
The idea is this. The idea is your tax levy is frozen. Your taxes are basically now the rate could go up, but like what the assessment is, that is capped, right? So, but it's only like certain counties, which I've talked to my friend David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute, and he's like, it doesn't matter what anybody does with this because it's going to go to the Supreme Court and it's going to be ruled unconstitutional.
I think so.
The other thing is the fact that Jefferson County has put it on there to not start until 2028. I was talking to David Stokes about this. He's like, I'm not sure how you guys could do that because nobody else was allowed to do that. And the other thing that if you're a senior citizen, you need to understand is if this passes, this gets, the way David Stokes explained it to me is it will override your senior tax credit. So you won't get double dip. You will just get this one. Right. And so, and talking to David Stokes, he's like, I'm against the senior tax credit because it's a special carve out for special people. I'm kind of against this one because again, it's a special carve out for special people. It's unconstitutional, right? He goes with this kind of philosophy of yours. No more tax dollars, more taxpayers, right? We all pay less if there's more of us. And it's super wordy. And unfortunately, it was one of those things that the state says you have to put this on your ballot. So as a councilman, I am statutorily obligated to go, okay, we will vote for it. We will pass it. And then my constituents like, well, you put it on there. What do you mean you don't know?
That's
I'm like,
right.
I just know what the lawyers tell us we got to do on that one. I'm a very small cog in the big machine there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're really caught up in it. Here's my concern. I agree. Whether it passes or fails is going to be irrelevant. I think the Supreme Court tosses it. If you stop and think about it, and I don't know that I have the answer to this, would you rather have your rate frozen or would you rather have your assessed value frozen?
Yeah, that's a big question, right?
Because there's trade-offs either way you go, right?
There is,
there's a difference there. And here's the other thing. And we're going to talk about these fire district initiatives, converting to sales tax. So if you look around jurisdictions, far more money is being raised by sales tax and property tax.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a big deal. And again, I'm not saying I'm talking against it. Please don't misunderstand me.
We're just objectively looking at the facts.
The facts. The problem that I see with doing this, well, the first one I think is going to get tossed out, but the fire districts.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So I think the problem with doing that is this. What's going to happen so let's say you pass it now. 3 or 4 years, you're going to go, well, my property taxes are pretty good. And then the school districts would come back and ask for money, and you're going to go, yes. And you're going to raise your taxes in spite of it.
Right.
You're not really end up saving anything. And listen, I've got nothing against the school districts, except to say they spend money like crazy. And they don't always spend it very wisely.
Right.
And our children are not as well educated as they were 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. As a matter of fact, I would argue that our children today aren't as well educated as people who graduated with an 8th grade education in the Civil War.
Fair enough.
And you know how I'll make that argument?
How's that?
I read a book one time. It's fascinating. It was letters home, and it was letters written by Civil War soldiers on both sides home describing the Civil War. That vocabulary far exceeds what anybody graduating from high school today has.
But you know what? One of the candidates for a judge would say, well, they knew how to write in cursive, and our kids don't know how to write in cursive. And that's the problem. That's why I passed a bill so kids have to write in cursive.
Yeah. Listen,
I'm not naming names, but you know who you are.
I think people should be able to write in cursive. I think that's important. However,
it's not the most important.
That is not the definition of an educated child.
Right.
And I think when we talk about these school board candidates, people should be asking them, tell me what an educated child is, and then tell me what it is where you're spending your money to make that happen. Because in reality, we're not spending our money on that.
Right. And to take a step with that, we got a couple things we're talking on here, but the like Fox, for instance, my highest tax bill every year is Fox. And Fox has got, I think, Proposition M, which is basically going to extend. What we're already paying. So it's not more necessarily. It's just,
you're not going to pay more. You're just paying for it longer.
Yeah. It was supposed to be an end date for the amount we were paying and go back to previous levels, but it's going to continue.
Right.
Now, had a great conversation with Dr. Frugo, who is the superintendent.
Yeah, no, he's a nice guy.
And, he can go throughout their property and look at all the buildings that are falling apart and decrepit and leaks. And, they've got literally cloth towels over doors because the door jambs don't work and all that stuff. And some of that's not his fault. He is still dealing with fallout of previous administrations that did pillage the coffers, right?
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Sure it is.
But there's this other piece of, and I look at all these buildings and I say to myself, okay, I want to support the school, but do they need those buildings? And the reason I say that is, as a guy, and Dr. John Isaacson, who is the superintendent at Hillsborough, he's going to hear this and he'll talk to me about it because we have different opposing views on this. We talk about it all the time. Like my thing is, we had school choice and we could see other options for education. We might go, hey, well, maybe all these big structures aren't necessarily what we need, right? And maybe that it kind of even goes with the firehouses and stuff like that. They're always buying the newer fire engines that are bigger. And then what happens when you get a fire engine that's bigger? It doesn't fit through the door. We got to build a bigger firehouse.
Yeah.
And so these things kind of like continue to good things kind of can get out of control.
Here's something, and I'm going to shift here. And I know we're from my campaign standpoint, this is one of my arguments to people about our lack of economy. What's the number one employer in Jefferson County?
Schools, probably.
School districts.
Yeah.
Where's 38% of our population? They're all older than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have enough housing stock, and we don't have the jobs, and we don't have the environment for young families to move in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That does not bode well for our schools'
Right.
future.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Right.
I just wanted to point that out. If we have 38% of our population that's older than I am,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have the jobs here, so we're not in housing stock. So that's the other thing. We talk about property taxes and things. We have less available houses, higher demand. What does that do? Raises prices.
Yeah, that's right.
Raises prices.
That's right.
That takes young families out of the market. They can't buy houses here to go to our schools, which is our biggest employer.
On top of that, because it's raising prices, it artificially raises people's taxes.
That's right.
On the property.
That's right.
So, hey, listen, we are running out of time. We got to
Too
barely
much
a
fun.
quarter of the stuff talked about we want to talk about.
I know.
There's so much more here.
Yep.
But Chris, thanks for coming on.
I'm happy
and
anytime.
filling in for Tim Jones. So stick with us here at News Talk STL, because after this, St. Charles Patriot Radio comes
Yes.
on as we continue some hyper local coverage of politics in the region. So thanks for joining us here at Jeffco Patriot Radio at 1019 941 News Talk STL.
So Christine is running for school district in the Northwest R1 school district. So if you live in the Northwest R1 district, I encourage you to meet Christine tonight. She'd be a great candidate. Learn from her, and she's going to be on the ballot Tuesday night, and she can use all the support she can get. So thank you, Christine.